Hello guys, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video I'm going to give my thoughts on the recent ballot at the Dublin City Marathon. So if anybody doesn't really know or isn't up to date what's going on, is that for the past, I don't know how many years, the last 10 years that I've been doing the marathon, every time you would sign up to the marathon, well initially back in the early 10s, around probably 2012, 2013, 14, you could sign up to the Dublin Marathon within about a month of it taking place, okay? And then sometime around about 16 or 17, they started putting the cut-off because it was selling out, it was getting a little bit popular, and that was great. And then you could still sign up so long as you got in on time. And then it went to the point where there was a cut-off date, and we knew that the numbers were getting pretty good, and it was the race was getting really healthy in terms of its overall turnout and its participation rate. And then what would happen is you would do the race and you'd wake up within the next day or two, you would get an email saying you've got 48 hours to sign up for the following year's race, and we would all kind of sign up. And for years that's what was happening, and there was a very tight-knit community across all the running clubs in Ireland. You would have lots of people, lots of clubs would target it as kind of their yearly race or their yearly marathon race. It certainly is how it was in our club. I'd say for the past maybe close to 10 years, I'd say, we probably routinely had about at least 35 up to 45, even some years 50 people from our club doing the marathon. I think this year we had 42 people doing it. So that's pretty much how it's always been up until this year. Okay, so this year they've introduced a ballot system. Okay, so now you don't just nobody who did the marathon in this year 2025. So for 2026 they've introduced a ballot. So anybody who raced Dublin City Marathon this year, like myself, we didn't get the email within 48 hours of the race finishing saying that you've got this time to sign up until for the following year. What happened was they told everybody that you can apply through a ballot. Now, to enter the ballot you had to pay €5, okay? And the €5 is non-refundable, so if you weren't successful you don't get your €5 back. But if you were successful, I believe the €5 does not come off your sign-up fee. I need to check that, I don't think it does. But yes, somebody hinted to me that that was the case. Now, I haven't went through the particulars of it yet, but if that is, then the question would be, where is all that? Let's say there's 25,000 people in the race and we multiply that by 5. That's a lot of money. So I wonder where that is. Unless maybe there is €5 coming off anybody who was successful, and I was successful in the ballot system. But what happens to all the €5 of the people who weren't successful? Be an interesting kind of exercise to find out where that money is. Anyway, so the ballot system has been introduced, and what it means is, what the organisers were saying is, they're saying that it makes it more fair, okay? They're saying that it creates less chaos on the days where you're kind of leading into the sign-up taking place, which I could get that. And they're saying that in the hope that it will diversify the field and it will increase female participation across the marathon. They were claiming that because people had the opportunity to sign up once they'd finished the race, that it was predominantly slightly more male heavy than female. So that meant that there was more males getting the opportunity to sign up for the race for the following year. But I have a bit of an issue with that, because I don't think the reason why the females weren't entering the race had anything to do with the fact that the gender balance in the sign-up system wasn't fair. I think there are other issues behind that, but they haven't been taken into account. Okay, so the ballot, I believe, won't increase female participation, or can't, because it's just a random process. Or theoretically it should be. So basically everybody who wants to apply applies, and if there's more males applying, then there's more males applying. That's a separate issue as to who gets in. And then if you randomly select all the people who apply in the ballot to do the race, you're probably going to have equal amount of males to female ratio that you had in years past. I don't see how that's going to increase the female ratio by just doing a ballot that is then done randomly. And what I mean by that is the ballot system doesn't change who applies, it just changes how you apply. So I don't see how you're magically going to get more women applying to the ballot system than you would have got if it was a first come first serve basis system. It doesn't make sense to me how that would work, unless there's some underlying thing that's glaring me in the face I haven't been made aware of. So if the percentage of women entering the ballot is the same as the women who would have entered on a first come first serve basis, and the percentage of men entering the ballot is the same, I don't see how you're going to get more women doing the race this year. I think that's a bit of a cop-out, I think, anyway. I think they wanted to change it to a ballot system, and I think they're using this as an excuse. I could be wrong. I think if they wanted to address some of the issues facing women, that would have created more reason or more likelihood for women to enter the race. I think they could do that. And what I mean by that is address some of the stuff like training times, confidence training plans, maybe do stuff like reach out to some of the women's groups. There are plenty of women's groups around the country. Maybe reach out to them, maybe have an officer in each kind of area who can go around and give them training plans and kind of check-ins and stuff like that. It definitely boosts confidence. Maybe organise training runs when people are in school. I think my club, we train on a Tuesday night and a Thursday night. Maybe if there was a training session or club meeting somewhere that trained during the day, I think doing stuff like that, if you did that in conjunction with changing your ballot, I would say yes, it sounds like you are trying to increase female participation. But just saying that you're going to change it to a ballot system, I think that, like I said, I think it's a bit of a cop-out. And then the other thing they could do as well is have if they had increased the numbers and had female only kind of a ring fenced, like if you had an extra 1,000 people in the race. It used to be 25,000, this year it was 22,000. So if you could have addressed that, maybe got it to 24,000 and said, right, we're going to have, for all the new entrants, we're going to just make that female only. I don't think anybody would have had a problem with that. Or if they had a stuck with the first come first served basis, they could have said, right, there's just going to be a 50-50 come, you know, 50-50 male, 50-50 women. I think that would increase female participation. I don't think changing to a ballot alone is going to do that. Okay, so what about all the loyal runners who've been doing the race for like 5 and 10 years like myself? I mean, I first did the Dublin Marathon in 2001. I did it again then, I think, in 2009, then 2013 up until now I've probably done 10. No, probably from 2013 to 2025, yeah, probably done close to 10. So with this new ballot system, your loyalty, and there was a couple of times in those years where the race was struggling for numbers and you were getting people coming out like myself who were doing it year in, year out, and the new loyalty system the new ballot system doesn't give any loyalty or any kind of recommendation to the people who are loyal and the people who supported the race for years. Your history with the race, regardless of how many times you did it, that counts for nothing now. It's just literally just, like I said, it's a ballot system. You go in, you're randomly chosen. If you're in, you're in. If you're not, you're not. It doesn't matter how many times you've done it. It doesn't matter how many years you've been doing it. And a lot of the world major marathons who do this kind of ballot system, some of them do incorporate systems like tiers for loyal members. They do, people who've run a certain amount of times have access to get in more, like it's not just randomized, it's kind of much more fair system. They have stuff like a legacy bib, so if you've done, let's say you've done if you've run the last 5 years, then that will add to your legacy bib, so there's more likely to get in the following year. And if you've done 10 of the last 10 years or 8 of the last 10 years, whatever, if you've been quite loyal to the race, there's more chance you'll get in than the person who's just applying first time out. Even though it is a ballot system, they just have little tierings and little kind of more fair ways of going about it. And then we can't just forget about the €5. So it's kind of the elephant in the room. I think this has really annoyed a lot of people. I think a lot of people probably wouldn't have any truck with the fact if it was just a ballot system, right? Put it in. If you're saying you're trying to increase female participation, fine. Even if it doesn't look like on paper you're trying to do that, but you're masquerading it as that, that's fine. But a lot of people, everybody had to pay their €5. I don't think anybody was too bothered paying it because everybody wants to get in, particularly the legacy runners or the people who run the race a lot. They all want to get into the race and do it again. But the fact that you don't get your €5 back, and like I said, nobody knows at present what's happening with that money, I don't think. Paying the €5 doesn't improve your odds of getting in. It doesn't guarantee your entry, like obviously it's ballot system, but also, like I said, I don't think it comes off, for the people who were successful, I don't think that €5 comes off your overall race entry fee, which seems a bit strange to me. With the people I spoke to at my running club and people who I know who run, like I said, I've done a lot of these, so I know a lot of people who are interested in Dublin Marathon. I don't think anybody believes that the €5 is kind of an admin fee. I think most people believe that the €5 is a way of monetizing the race to increase the demand. So if you know that there's a little bit of a monetization there, it creates this kind of hype and it creates this kind of panic that you need to get in, so therefore everybody signs up. I definitely was probably part of that myself, and I think that alone is probably the thing that's annoying people the most about the Dublin Marathon change to a ballot. The Dublin Marathon is an absolutely fantastic race. Like I said, I've done it at least 10 times now, and I've done marathons all over Europe. I've done Valencia, I'm going to Valencia again this year. I've done Paris, I've done a couple in the UK. I've done marathons all over. I did Abu Dhabi, I've done a marathon in Australia. And the Dublin Marathon is a special event, particularly, I think it's probably true for anybody talking about their whole marathon, but the thing that worries me is that all across the country there's lots of running clubs who kind of, like I said at the start of this video, target Dublin Marathon as their race. They have lots of people, lots of participants. It's like a day out, you know. So for us this year, like I said, we had 40 people. And already on Tuesday night when I was down coaching the club, there's already lads now saying like, well, the people who didn't get in are saying like, right, well, we just sign up to Amsterdam, which is a week before Dublin. And then there's also Chester. I did that marathon a couple of years ago. That's 3 weeks before Dublin. So I think you're going to get little splinter groups coming out of each running club now, and that will upset the balance of people, of clubs who are training for the marathon. And I wonder whether that will upset the kind of ins and outs of how running clubs change. I do wonder how this will play out. For me, and I hope I'm wrong, I think this is the beginning of the end of the Dublin Marathon that we all knew. All these club runners, all these loyal runners like myself. I love Dublin. I love leading into it because I knew that I was going to know at least 20 or 30 or 40 people from my club going, and I knew that I was going to see the same face that I see every year from all these other clubs. It's a chance to meet up with people, say hello, have a drink afterwards, have a bit of a chat beforehand, people you meet on the road. And you know, if you're doing your whole marathon, a lot of people aren't signing up as individuals, you know. I know in my club there's like, you know, a couple of girls will sign up together, a couple of lads, and now if one or two in that group get in and one or two don't, the temptation is to say, right, well, let's just choose a different marathon in Europe. And now the two people who did get in might not go. They might just, I don't know, go off and do another marathon. And I think it is going to cause a lot of splintering, fracturing of running clubs around the country. Like I said, I hope I'm wrong. There are lots of little clubs who just kind of get together to train for the marathon, like not official clubs. I know there's a lot of them around, and I just wonder what's going to happen with all that. It could end up kind of doing the reverse and leading to less female participation in the race, and I think that will be a disaster if that is the case. But like I said, I hope I'm wrong. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, what you think about this. Am I kind of overreading it, overthinking it, or you think I have some valid points? Let me know what you think, or if I've forgotten anything, or there's something that you think needs to be raised, hit it in the comments below. Anyway, in the meantime, guys, you know what to do. Run far, run fast, most of all, run sensible.